Hello, everybody. Welcome to our March 2019 webinar on working in versus working on your clinical research career or business. Now, why did we come up with this topic, Chris? There's no wrong answer. I just want you to talk.
Because we needed a topic.
That's very good. Now, do you notice that whenever we talk to really site owners, but also with the hopeful CRAs themselves, or anyone really working in the industry, this webinar applies to anybody in clinical research, period. Anybody.
More so, I think, to site owners than anybody else, but certainly to employees as well.
Well, we'll see why it's actually super beneficial to think of themselves and their careers as mini businesses.
Sure.
Right? They don't do that enough. Actually, very few do, and the ones who do are the ones that get ahead, if that's something that you want to do. So this is inspired by all the site owner conversations we have.
All of them?
Just about.
Okay.
All the potential site owner conversations we have. Right? So, working in versus working on your business. Two very different things, two very different skill sets. You need to do both of them no matter what you're doing in research.
Okay.
Or in any business.
Fair enough.
Right? We use the analogy of a pool cleaner, somebody who owns a pool cleaning business, right? His working in the business is knowing how to clean the pool, knowing what chemicals to put in the pool. Working on his business is hiring people to do the work for him, getting new routes, getting new clients, buying cheaper supplies. It's a very simple analogy. It applies to researchers as well, especially for site owners, but also for the employees. All the employees, they're very good, or at least we hope they're very good, at knowing how to work in their business. A study coordinator, if they're a competent study coordinator, knows how to be a study coordinator. What they maybe don't know how to do is how to work on their own career.
Sure.
Right? How to network, how to maybe climb the corporate ladder, or the not so corporate, but climb the ladder of success in their career. Right? How to transition from CRC to CRA. What were you going to say? And by the way, anyone, you can chat right now in the chat box, okay?
Well, a couple of things, just a long story short. Working on would be maintaining or creating revenue, I would think.
Succinctly put.
Right?
Yes.
And then working in is doing the mundane tasks. Well, maybe not mundane, but doing the tasks involved with whatever area of work this is.
Right.
And then secondly, we have a new creator of our slides. So
yeah, give us feedback, positive or negative.
Yeah, if you've watched previous, what are these called? Webinars?
Yeah.
We used to have Amy prepare the slides. Now we have somebody new,
Carlos. One day Carlos will join us on a webinar. All right, so working in versus working on your research career or business, all right? Anyone who wants to grow their site or improve their chances of staying employed, or even of advancing their careers. Site owners will understand the distinction between working in a business and working on it, how each concept interacts with the other, how to look at it in a holistic manner, what happens when you neglect to work in your business or on your business, both. Yeah. Some people are better at working in, some people are better at working on. You're gonna lean towards one or the other. It's not 50-50. It's gonna be like 60-40, favoring one way or another. Some people as high as 80-20.
Well,
and you don't want to be at 100-0, because then you're like you have no balance.
I think you need to be adaptive.
Okay, explain.
So there may be times when there's not a lot of work to do within the business, so that's time to work on the business. And then the reverse could be true. If you have plenty of work to do, and you have future prospects for work already in line, so you don't really need to work on the business.
Yeah.
Be working in the business.
A lot of people at the site level, and clinical research is a very forgiving industry in this matter. No matter for the business owner or the employee, because there's such a demand for sites, especially in the 2019 market, such a demand for sites, such a demand for qualified employees, that you can kind of coast on both of these aspects. And it doesn't really affect you, but little neglect compounded over time will make a difference in your business or your career.
Oh, absolutely.
Over a long period of time. In the short, day-to-day stuff, you can coast. You can coast by for a few months. In most industries,
you think months?
If you're a competent coordinator or a competent site owner, if you have, let's take the example of a site owner. You have
site owner.
A small site.
Coordinating a little different, but go ahead.
Sure, you have a small site. You get 5 studies. That's plenty. You can maintain a lifestyle that way. You don't need to do biz dev anymore.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, but you should not neglect it.
Right? Yeah, those studies will end.
It will end, and then you're gonna be in a world of hurt because you're gonna wish that you would have not neglected it. Now you don't have to go as hardcore as you were before you had all those studies. Like Chris said, be adaptive.
Right.
Focus on what the needs are, but ideally you want to be consistent on both aspects constantly.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right? And same thing with employees. They can coast. Yeah. They can coast.
They get fired.
I don't know if they will, because it's supply and demand. I'm not saying neglect their jobs. I'm saying be subpar for a period of time.
Sure. If you're a coordinator and it's slow at your site, there's not a lot of patients to see, sure, you can coast. I agree. If you're not required to do anything else, right? If you're not required to do business development in any way, or recruit patients, right? Sure, you can coast. It's somebody else's responsibility. They're not doing their job. There's nothing for you to do. What are you going to do?
Now, again, I'm not advocating anyone employ this strategy. I'm just saying this industry is very forgiving when it comes to these things as opposed to other industries.
Sure.
Where there's not as much of a demand for a workforce. Like the real estate industry, for example. Like as a realtor, if you take one day off, that can directly impact your revenue the next month. If you take a week off, it's even worse. If you imagine a realtor take a quarter off, they're done.
Sure.
It's not the case in research, and I think it's unique in that regard. All right, next slide. Working in versus working on your business. It's pretty obvious. This is what we've been talking about. I don't know why this slide's here. We're gonna get Carlos in here right now. Do you know why this is here?
I have no clue.
This is like when you buy an album and there's like a skit.
Wasn't that the introductory slide? Didn't it say the same thing?
Yeah.
2 slides ago.
Remember back in the day when you bought a CD, or in your days an album?
You're so funny, but that's true.
And they would have skits at random like just made no sense. Anyways. All right, what's the difference? I guess I could see why he put that there. Major difference between working in your business and working on your business or your career, okay? They can be interchangeable. Most business owners understand how to work on their business, but don't see the value of working in the business. Successful owners have an understanding of both. Working on your business refers to any functions that are performed to increase the value of your business. And working in your business refers to the process of conducting the services that your business provides, as would a typical worker. So next slide. Next slide, Chris. Give us your color commentary on this one.
I have none. I'm not a color person.
Yeah.
So you
give us
read it. Are you saying read it?
Yeah, read and then give your analysis.
Okay, you didn't give an analysis on the last slide.
It's just a summary of what we already talked about.
Okay. Benefits of working in your business when you have a new site. Most new site owners understand that they will have to work in their site during the early stages of development. And of course, that's true.
And we recommend that to save money.
Absolutely. But I mean, if you have tons of money, costs are not a concern. Then you can certainly hire somebody to do all aspects of your business, to handle all aspects.
But is that wise, even in those situations?
No, probably not, because I take that back. If you have prior experience in research, I think it's fine. If you don't, I think that's when it's not wise. Would you disagree?
No, I agree. I think anyone that's novice to anything should not outsource until they understand
Should learn it
that
themselves.
function.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you receive a complaint about something within the business that you do not understand, how can you evaluate that complaint?
Right.
Right? Okay, so when you start a site, all you really need is a PI and a coordinator, but you can't expect them to do all the work by themselves. You have to provide support in order to ensure quality. So yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. And it gets back to the previous statement. Somebody needs to handle business development. Your PI is not going to do it, most likely, right? How many PIs do business development?
Almost zero, unless they're key opinion leaders and the studies come to them.
Right.
And then they do it in a roundabout way. They go on speaking gigs for pharma companies. They meet with the medical science liaisons. They do different things like that.
Sure. And a coordinator a little more so, I would think. I've known some coordinators that do a little bit of business development. More recruitment than business development, but more likely to handle that. But still, especially if they have a study or two, they're not going to have time for business development for the most part. So you, as the site owner, should be handling the business development.
And what if you're an employee at a site? Let's say you're a coordinator. What should you be doing simultaneously, besides the obvious of doing your job functions? For example, let me relate this to a comment I just got on YouTube, right?
Okay.
I'm working as a research coordinator associate. Currently, so basically research coordinator assistant. Currently, the only responsibilities I have are answering phone calls and data entries, surveys, and scheduling. I've worked as a support coordinator as an intern previously where I did trial master file. That's about it. I have a master's in clinical research.
Wow.
Now, how do I grow? All other jobs require experience with protocol handling, monitoring experience, and others which I do not have. Please advise. I will advise you. Because this is exactly what we're talking about, although you got to read between the lines and hear us out a bit. This person, let me read between the lines. His responsibilities
are very limited.
Yeah, but one of them is data entry. Okay? Now, do you simply take the source, take the data, and enter it on the EDC?
So,
or do you... Chris knows exactly where I'm headed. Or do you actually do some SDV and then take it a step further, which is source data verification, and then take it a step further and do some SDR, even if it's not part of your job duty? Source data review. I'm sure you have a protocol. I'm sure nobody cares that you read it. Matter of fact, you've probably been trained on the protocol. Why not do some SDR? And if you notice errors, there always are errors. Always. You put a sticky note on the source. You give it back to the coordinator and say, hey, I noticed this. Right? You do that every day for a quarter. You put that on your CV. Now, you're not just a data entry person. You are an in-house quality assurance specialist. And you put that on your CV, and then with a master's in clinical research, somebody's going to hire you because you know how to do SDV and SDR, which are the two most important functions of any monitor.
So allow me to be the devil's advocate for a moment.
Go ahead, but you're not changing my mind at all.
I'm sure a little bit I will.
Nope.
Okay, suppose this is an extremely busy site.
Yeah.
Right? And they already have QA specialists in place. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of data to enter. Like, it's days worth.
Right.
And the site director or owner notices that this employee is doing SDR. And they ask, why are you doing this?
Yes.
You already have somebody doing this.
Yes.
Right? You're slowing down the process.
Yes.
You're not doing your data entry
Yes.
tasks. I think an employee in certain instances could actually get in trouble for this. In the right situation. Right?
The wrong situation.
Sure. Wrong situation. I think they could actually get in trouble for this. So I think you need to be aware of your situation.
Obviously, you got to know the context, who you work for, and if that's the place you're in, you don't want to be there. I mean, you better start doing this even quicker in that case.
Or at least ask. Ask your employer, would it be okay if...
Yeah.
if
ask, obviously ask. But if
Well, I think at some sites it's okay if you don't ask, right? If it's a
Right.
little bit slower site,
Right.
even like we were just discussing not too long ago, if you don't have a lot of work as it is,
But in some sites, it might be frowned upon to do extra things.
exactly.
You know? So then you got to do it anyways. Because why? Because you're working on your mini business, which is your career.
Well, if you're planning on leaving, I guess it's okay.
That's what this person's
Immediately.
doing. They're in a dead end job.
Right.
They think it's dead end. It's not a dead end.
Right.
FYI, not a dead end. Okay, so I'm going to probably cut this part out and give it to this guy as a... Or I'll just tell him to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast. Which, by the way, this replay, I know a lot of people are calling in right now. The slides will be available so you can see them in all their glory.
Glory.
Yeah, on YouTube
Great
and
names.
possibly Facebook too. All right. Can I give my nurse practitioner the title of coordinator right at the beginning? Yes, you can. You can do that. Hello, Enrique. Can I give my NP the title of coordinator right at the beginning of the clinical studies? Yes, you absolutely can. Okay, next.
We didn't read the last line.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. As sponsors and CROs begin to see how your site operates, they will be attracted to your site if the site can produce great work and can update its methods to reflect changes in the industry. So to expand upon that statement, so basically, if you do everything well, you'll create repeat business with sponsors. That's the way I read it. Is that the way you read it?
I'm answering this guy's comment. What?
Nothing. Moving on.
Yeah, but you don't like the advice I give this guy, right?
No, I think it's good advice 80% of the time.
Yeah. And in those 20% of the time where it's bad advice, here's a hint. It is good advice from your Uncle Dan. All right? You just need to get the hell out of that place that you're in. If they're trying to purposely not help you grow your career.
Well, it's not. What I'm saying is I don't think on their end, it's not that they're trying to help you grow your career. They've hired you to do a job, a function that they need you to do.
Of course.
And they don't want you doing something else.
So
they already have personnel in place for that.
So you do that to a level where nobody is upset with your work performance, and you do more while getting paid the same. That's the price you pay to work on your career.
Okay.
Or your business, right? Next slide. Man, we're zipping right through these things. What do you think of Carlos's slides so far?
Yeah, good. Done as well as Amy's.
Yeah. Ooh, Amy, are you listening? Okay, we got another question. I am a site and have 12 employees. I do all the financial, contracting, etc. And I feel I do not have enough time to work on the business, like projections, forecasting type things. Yeah, you need to take one of your 12 employees, one that's probably most entrepreneurially inclined, and have them do some of these things. And in order to get to that point, you've got to train them, and then you've got to set up an employee manual for them. Not an SOP, because we don't want auditors looking at this SOP, but an employee handbook for this position. This is why it's so important, and you're on the right track, this person who's asking this question, because you have put in the time working in your business, right? So you understand just about every aspect of what you're doing, and you can set up procedures for somebody else to follow, and then all you've got to do, instead of working maybe 40 hours a week on those things, you work 10 hours a week just managing what this person's doing. And then it frees up another 30 hours for you to do other things that you're describing, which you need to do as well. And you have 12 employees, so I'm sure one of them, maybe more than one, can do a good enough job. The problem is, in most cases, myself included, we know as entrepreneurs and business owners that we'll do a very good job at that. And the risk is that we'll take a temporary dip in productivity if we outsource it. But the benefit of doing that in the long run opens up and frees up your time to grow your business. So you may not need somebody to be 100% as good as you in your tasks. maybe you'll take 80% as good as you, or even 70, right?
Yeah.
Chris and I have this conversation like every week about the stuff we're doing. It's not easy. All right. Hopefully that helps. You've got to learn how to delegate. You have to. And there's going to be a temporary dip, but the sooner you do it, the better. You can't postpone it. You can't drive yourself crazy and start working 80 hours a week. All right. Or maybe you already are working 80 hours a week. You have to let go. You have to accept slightly less quality work than you will provide. Set up a system to where other people can do it almost as good as you. No one's going to be as good as you. Or you may be surprised. Someone might do it better than you. All right. That's my recommendation. I got to practice what I preach as well. We're in the various situations of this type of issue all the time in our numerous businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Another question. Who can be the person who signs the paychecks? Can I delegate my coordinator to sign the checks paid to subjects? Yeah, you absolutely can.
Those aren't paychecks, though.
It's patient stipends.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to go to your bank and have them as authorized signer.
Recommend cash, though.
Why do you recommend cash to pay patients?
A couple of reasons. It's easier. That's first and foremost. It's the easiest way to pay the patients. Secondly, in the past, we've had patients when paid by check, they've committed a little bit of forgery.
Yeah, we've had checks stolen.
Yeah, or checks that we've written to them. They've changed the amount. So you have to be careful with these.
Be careful with that. But good question. I mean, that's part of delegating, right? Like teaching somebody else how to work in the business so you can work on it. I'm assuming, well, actually, I know you, so I know you're a site owner. Glad you're on here too. When you don't know how to work in your business, some site owners prefer to not only work on their sites. Doing so does not necessarily lead to failure, but it can have higher cost. New site owners may have the urge to only work on their sites. They may want to hire coordinators or PIs with a high level of expertise. While this is ideal, it can also be more expensive because salary costs will rise as experience levels go up. And the more out of the loop you are, the harder it's going to be for you to manage and know when things are not going the way they should be. And you need to know these things relatively quickly, almost in real time. So you always need a balance, working in versus working on. You never want to be 100 to 0. You want to try to be as close to, I guess you're going to alternate, like Chris said. You're going to adapt. Go from 75-25 and the inverse of that as needed. But you never want to be 100 to 0. Or even like 90 to 0, 90 to 10.
100 to 0 for a short while is fine. I mean, there could be a week where your coordinator took a vacation.
Right, but it can't become a habit. It can't become the business.
You wouldn't want to see that for a year.
Yeah.
Right? A week, 2 weeks, a month could happen.
It can't become your new process.
Right.
At the site, right?
You'll fail. Eventually you'll fail.
Yes. You need to have your hands in there, in the business, keyword, while working on it, and then flipping back and forth, right?
A bigger site, though, it can be 100 to 0, right? If you have all the pieces in place to work in the business, you can focus on working on the business. Or vice versa.
But someone still has to manage it. Someone still has to make sure that the people working in it are doing it.
You have a site director.
And then you have a CEO, and then, I mean, you can get very,
if you're big enough.
The hierarchies can keep expanding.
You can do 0-0.
But the owner still needs to have their finger on the pulse
of
everything.
Sure, that's where you're just communicating with the site director. I mean, if you're big enough.
Sure. Experienced site owners should also be working in their business, is what we just talked about, right? Site owners who continue to work in their site are able to retain more information about their site and the industry as a whole, can save money by training new personnel, have information that can help steer the direction of the company. So there's value in getting your hands dirty. Absolutely is. And it should be alternating constantly. All right. Now working on yourself. This is the part where it's not really, and it's very zen. This slide is very zen. I feel so relaxed just looking at this.
Webinar.
Yeah, this is self-help. Tony Robbins, we're coming for your business. All right. The business of yourself. You are a business. Chris, stop laughing. You know you are a business.
It was more your impersonation there.
Yeah. Most employees only focus on completing their work as effectively as possible. They strive to be great employees. The problem is...
Some do.
Right. The problem with that is who's looking out for your best interests?
Well, you better be.
You have to be. I mean, you can't, even if you work for the best employer in the world, me and Chris, right?
Okay.
It's still, you as the employee have to take the initiative for self-improvement. We want you happy, but we also want you working for us. All right? And
Yep.
that's on the good end of the spectrum. You have some employers that are purposely trying to hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're going to care about your best interests?
Of course not.
All right, so you have to focus on completing your work as effectively as possible and work on your own career. What I just gave advice to this guy on YouTube. Do more. Put it on your CV. No one's going to complain if your work is being done well, right?
Yep.
If not, obviously you got to fix that first, right? Specializing is great. Specialization is for insects, is what I think. Specializing is great for the company and might get an employee recognition for being good at their specific tasks. But what happens when the market changes and all of a sudden, guess what? Your data entry is being done by computers. It's being done automatically from the eSource. It's already being done. There's systems now. We're using eSource at our site.
Right.
We still have to enter it manually in the EDC. Algorithms are going to get to the point, it's not far away from now, where that eSource data is going to be automatically put in the EDC.
Yeah, of course.
What are you going to do if all you're doing is data entry and that happens? You think anyone's going to hire you? No, you better. You would have wished you would have done what I'm recommending with SDV and SDR and furthering your career. Be as much, everyone, site owners, employees, everybody should strive to be as much of a generalist as possible.
So
while being specialized, master an area, all right? Like master central nervous system, master data entry, master SDV, SDR, and then expand to another area and do that again. And you're not losing your mastery in the other place where you've developed your expertise. You're just growing more. Mm-hmm. And people don't do this because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And people have linear mindsets where they're thinking, well, what I'm doing this second needs to pay me the next second. Very linear.
Sure.
This is not linear. This is, you got to do that. You got to do what you got to do. But you also need to grow. And for sites too, if you're just focused on one therapeutic area, you're at the mercy of that market. If you're only doing psychiatry,
that's without a doubt,
and psychiatry goes through a drought,
which it will,
you better have wished that you were expanding your capabilities when psychiatry was doing well. Mm-hmm. And people don't want to do that because they're too busy working in their business at that time because they're making hay while the sun shines, yep, which is what we always talk about. But you've got to do both. You have to find a way to do both and make yourself a superhuman.
Yeah, there's practical reasons to why you just can't find the time to do these things. I mean, and it can be simple. It can be a simple way to find the time. You hire sub-Is of a different therapeutic area.
Yeah.
And you start building their CVs up a little bit. Mm-hmm. You start looking for, occasionally, maybe you're plenty busy with whatever you're specializing in, but you on occasion will come across a study that fits your sub-I's expertise and skill set. So now you have a new PI.
Absolutely. This is, if you take anything away from this webinar, it's become a generalist, right? You're going to start out as a specialist somewhere. Almost everyone does. And then expand, become a specialist at 2 things. And then expand, become a specialist at 3 things. Pretty soon, you're a generalist and a specialist in everything.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right? Now, no one can actually ever achieve that, but you need to try. If you want to grow your business, grow your career, grow anything, network, go to conferences, join. I mean, who's stopping you from joining SOCRA or ACRP? The test and some money, and many employers will pay for you to get ACRP certified.
Sure.
We're actually going to pay for Monica to get ACRP certified at Global.
Mm-hmm.
But if your employer doesn't, so what? Why don't you do it?
That's not all that costly.
Yeah.
I think it's what, 300 and 600?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. And just network. Go to the SOCR meetings, ACRP meetings, go to investigator meetings, network with other people. Go on LinkedIn. You could literally network every minute of the day on LinkedIn. You add people that are in the industry or experts in things that you're interested in becoming specialized in, and you leave comments on their posts. You message them. You don't spam them. You message them something thoughtful, something that provides them value, something that's engaging and not a sales pitch. Right? You can do all these things. You need to treat yourself as a business, and obviously if you have a business, you need to treat your business as a business.
No.
Yeah. Here's the problem with the majority of site owners, right? They treat their business as if they are employees of their business.
Yeah, I guess that's
And here's the problem with most employees. They treat their career as if they're just employees of that business.
Well, that's understandable.
Right, but they should both...
I understand what you're preaching and the mindset that they need to develop, but it's understandable to have that mindset.
In conclusion, and we're going to get to questions. Put your questions in now. Go ahead, Chris, with the conclusion. And then we'll get to this question and anyone else who has questions.
All right, whether your interest lies in ensuring the growth of your site or staying relevant in the research field, you should always have a plan to obtain your goals. For the site owners, this means working on your site and in your site. New site owners have the opportunity to build a positive reputation for their site. Experienced site owners should alienate themselves from their site because doing so can cause them to lose track of the direction that the industry takes.
Yes. Experienced site owners shouldn't alienate themselves from their site. So you shouldn't be 100% working on it. You should have your hands in it.
Now that makes more sense. I read should. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, that relates to this question we got. Keeping your finger on the pulse of the industry. There's no other way to do that other than getting your hands dirty occasionally in your business. Here's the question. With the move towards virtual trials or hybrid trials with fewer sites, fewer site visits, and more remote patient engagement, how do some of the roles change at a site? Do you see more roles that are focused on remote patient engagement and remote SDV and SDR? Yes. That's the answer.
Simple enough.
The answer is yes, and you need to get good at using those tools. You need to get good at learning not just the dynamics at the site level, but the dynamics at the CRO and sponsor level. You should buy our book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, to understand CRO, sponsor dynamics, and site dynamics, how they interrelate, and where the opportunity is for you to go in between all of those different stakeholders and establish your value there.
Fair enough.
Right? How do I learn to become a cancer study CRC CRA? Go to PubMed, go to clinicaltrials.gov, search the type of cancer you're interested in. Maybe it's breast, maybe it's lung, maybe it's gastric, I don't know. Read the study results from the most recent 20 studies on clinicaltrials.gov with results. Go to PubMed, read the latest 20 articles that have been published, and you'll become a mini expert in cancer. Obviously, you've got to put it into practice, but you have a working platform now to build upon.
And actually delve into this stuff. You'll have to do a lot of Googling on what's meant and not just perusing through these 20 studies. You actually have to understand them.
Oh, yeah. We're not talking casually reading it with like popcorn and a burrito in your hand.
Right.
Pen and paper, print them out, write notes. When something is there that you don't understand, Google it. When something else is there that you don't understand, ask somebody on LinkedIn. This is how you learn. Active learners. Another question. I'm a registered nurse, but I am a novice at this. How long does it typically take to become very acquainted in the field? Goal is to become a business owner. Takes about a year. The learning curve is about a year to figure things out at the site level, at a small site.
Yeah.
Took me about a year to figure it out when I started. but I was focused just 100% on this. As an RN, you already have you have all the medical expertise. You just need to understand the fundamentals of clinical research, watch these webinars, listen to the podcast, watch the YouTube videos. I have a 4-hour video on YouTube you can watch. We have a book coming out in April, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research. Take the CRA Academy, take the Site Owner Academy, get proficient in this, right? The goal is to become a business owner. You can do that. You can start a site. All you need is a PI and a study, and you're the coordinator because you're the RM. All right. Now, once you get that study, it's a matter of learning how to service that study. So you'll be doing a fair amount of time working in your business before you can even start thinking about how to work on your business. Like the previous question submitter, she's at the point where she already has 12 employees. She's in the process of building a system for her site so she could spend more time working on the business, right? As a site owner, do I have a choice of using the IT platform for EDC, ECOA, CTMS, or are these dictated by sponsor? Sometimes they are dictated by the sponsor. You'll never be allowed to choose what EDC you want to use. But when it comes to eSource or even eReg, most of the time you're allowed to choose your vendor, right? Sometimes the sponsors force it on you. Which vendor you need to use.
I was half listening. When are you allowed to choose your own vendors?
So we're using eSource. Nobody told us to use that.
Oh, okay. eSource, yes. EDC, no.
I said no EDC.
Oh, okay. Okay, my bad.
eReg too. And no one's forcing you to choose what CTMS you use.
You have to get the okay from the sponsor of CRO to use either of those things.
Yes. Everything. And let me read you a text from one of our business partners. He's about 80 years old. We were talking about something similar to this, and he said something wise that only an 80-year-old can say. Everything in life...
Wait. Gotta do it in the voice.
No, I'm not doing it in the voice. It makes no sense to anyone but you.
But I get to laugh.
His quote, everything in life must be sold for others to share your vision. Brilliant.
One more time.
Everything in life must be sold for others to share your vision. So if you're a site, you want to use an eSource, the sponsor's a little hesitant about letting you use an eSource.
Sure, you got to sell them.
You got to sell. Why? What's the benefit? Put yourself in their shoes. What do they want to see? Don't just think of yourself. What does the sponsor want?
Well, we've already said this a number of times. Just in a different way.
eReg, same thing.
If you're a site owner, you're doing sales. You're always doing sales.
Exactly. So you have a choice for just about everything except the EDC. Sometimes you don't have a choice for anything with some sponsors.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. In 2019, you still have a choice, except for EDC, for eSource, eReg, CTMS, how you pay your patients. You typically have the choices. There's always exceptions. We know that. For the most part, you have the freedom to do, and you got to sell why you want to do it. If it's something that's unorthodox, you've got to sell it. And this 80-year-old business partner just dropping knowledge bombs.
Knowledge bombs, huh?
Through the iMessage.
All right, very nice.
Anything else? Anyone? We will wait 2 more minutes.
I hear y'all.
I love y'all. Can't wait for the book. Thank you very much. We love you too.
I need to get glasses. Like from here, it looks like it says "I hear y'all."
Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, you can't. You really can't see. You need an external monitor. That's what I use at the office. It helps
Something
a lot.
Bigger.
Yeah, I'll buy you one.
Oh, you're not playing.
You guys are great as always. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Any last remaining questions before we get on out of here? Doesn't seem like it. Just remember, focus on both in and on your career/business. It's the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's full-time employees. There's some full-time employees. Notice how I changed it? There's some full-time employees.
Not always.
Let me say it again. There's some full-time employees that make much more than some business owners.
What?
There's some business owners that make much more than some employees. There's no blueprint for which one's better. Only you can answer that. What you want to get out of it, what you're willing to do, what you're not. Obviously, Chris and I are entrepreneurs. We're going to lean that way. But we know many full-time employees much more successful than we are.
Yeah, we were just told this yesterday.
Yeah. This will be on YouTube and the podcast, Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. It'll be on everything. Go follow on Instagram too. And, the book's dropping in April. I know I've said that already. That's not the important part. That is important, but it's not important. The important part is for you guys on here. If you text right now, okay, I want everyone to do this. I don't know how many people we still have on here. And the YouTubers too, and the podcast too. All right, if you're watching later, text the word guru to 31996 on the day the book launches for a 2-hour window, which is why it's best that you get it at your cell phone. The book will be almost free for that 1 to 2 hour window. Guru to 31996. All right, the book will be like 99 cents till it's limited for like an hour. I would appreciate a review if you can. You don't have to. You can just buy the book and get the hell out of there. But I'd appreciate a review, and then it's going up to the price that we're going to put it at. So you want to get it early, right? It'll only be Kindle. We don't know what date because we're putting final touches on it, but first or second week of April. All right? Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Guru31996. Catch y'all later. Bye-bye.